Welcome to this Last Mile Profits video, the last word on the last mile. Recommerce is a big deal. We're going to talk about what works, what doesn't work, what the challenges are, and how to deal with them. To find out more, stay tuned. Experience the future of convenience with modern Expo parcel lockers. Cutting-edge innovations that bring parcel delivery to a fundamentally new level. Follow the link in the description to find the best solution for your business. Gary, we're going to talk about a subject that is really close to my heart, Recommerce. You heard any other names?
Well, only the brand names of the companies that are doing it and doing it well. But yeah, it's a phenomenon without a doubt, and it's a phenomenon that is just growing and growing and growing.
But because we are last mile profits, we need to talk about that element of it, because the sort of traditional thinking is it's extremely hard to make that work with home delivery because of the relative value of the item and the cost of transport.
Yeah, there's been a huge amount of study done on, if you buy a £500 item and somebody says it's £20 for delivery, you don't blink. Buy a £10 item and somebody says it's £1 for delivery, you get all bent out of shape. Even though the inconvenience of receiving either item is exactly the same, for some reason the perceived problem is different when the value of the item is higher.
Well, this actually is borne out by any sort of research that I've seen. And therefore, the smart cookies, so I've been quite heavily involved and looked at what Vinted is doing, and I think Vinted is probably the rising star at the moment. They're probably, if anyone's close to Amazon at the moment, it must be them. And effectively, it's all Recommerce. And their thinking goes in the direction that actually it's got to be out of home. What's interesting is they're doing their own stuff with lockers, but also they understand the value of PUDOs. So, I'm thinking, is there another way? Honestly, other than the old Recommerce, which was based upon you and I living next door to each other and basically you popping around to mine or vice versa to buy the item. But I can't really think of any other model that could make it work.
Well, you've kind of overlooked eBay. eBay were really the first online Recommerce business. I mean, they see themselves as a retailer now, but they started out with, I've got something, how big a community can I reach in terms of who might want to buy it? But they are being kind of outgunned by Vinted, if you like. Vinted are taking a huge amount of volume away, not from Amazon, but from eBay. eBay were the dominant player. If you look at what Vinted are doing in France, I think carriers need to sit up and pay attention, because they've cut out everybody. They're doing locker to locker. They're doing the transportation themselves. They've got a great partner helping with the lockers and doing the location. So they are creating a kind of second-hand impost, if you like, pre-owned impost network. They need critical mass of volume to make that work, obviously. But how long before a market near you is going to see them do the same thing?
Well, I think the reason I actually intentionally mentioned them, because for me, eBay is the big loser. They, in my opinion, didn't fully appreciate the value of the last mile. And, do you remember the company they bought ages ago in the UK? It had a rocket as the logo. If anyone knows, please just drop a line or a comment rather on LinkedIn. So they bought this company, and unfortunately, I don't think they used it well. The last mile options are always pretty poor. They started getting their act together later on in the day, and I know you did some stuff with them in a former life. But for me, they're one of the big losers. Vinted get it. You're right. They've been innovative. They've set up their own lockers. So will never forgive me if I don't mention that they're doing it with Blockit. So I will do that. Exceptional thing. And they're doing a pretty good job. The question that I have though is, Gary, I really can't think of any other model that could work other than out of home because of the cost of delivery.
Yeah, you need to reduce the number of delivery points. You can't deliver to 27 million UK addresses effectively unless you've got an enormous volume and you're going down every street every day anyway, which is why Royal Mail works, which is why as we talked about in a previous podcast, it's so successful, because they've now got that critical mass of volume. There aren't that many carriers that are going down every street every day to make it economic to do it. So if you're not, then you've got to avoid going down streets altogether and have a selected number of delivery points. Whether it's 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 PUDOs and lockers, they're still tiny to service compared to 27 million home addresses.
Actually, one thing that could be interesting, I don't know if you picked up on this one, they bought a company called Homer a couple of months back. And home is a really interesting model because they have traditional poodles, but they also have lifestyle poodles, a bit of a hybrid of the old Hermes situation where, somebody who's retired, sitting at home, got a bit of time, got a flat on the ground floor with easy parking in front of it. And that could be maybe the hybrid that works, because you and I both know the problem with poodles and lockers is it's okay until, for example, I buy a tennis racket from you, and that just isn't going to fly in a locker, and it's probably going to be pretty difficult to poodle as well.
Well, a tennis racket will fit in our locker, actually, Marek. So thank you for the chance to
really?
plug it out. It will go into one of our large lockers. So we're fine with canoes. On the other hand, big problem. So yeah, we tend not to want to carry those. I mean, these informal networks are already there, aren't they? Quite often on a housing estate, there'll be a slightly busybody lady lives in number 28, and she will happily take in parcels for people up and down the street. Certainly in the UK this happens, and all the drivers know that if you go to number 28, she'll be happy to take the parcel in for you. So what you're doing is kind of formalising that and making it effective, and some reward for the person doing it, which I think is a really, really good idea. The other issue, of course, is when you're doing this near commerce, you're selling something secondhand and the person is nearby, you might not want to meet them. You might be, there might be a personal security or a kind of bit of confidentiality where you don't really want to get involved with them. Again, lockers are a great application for that. I go down in the evening and put it in, and then when I've gone home, the next person comes along and picks it up. So it doesn't even have to be involved with shipping the stuff from one end of the country to the other.
Before we go on to the final thing I'd like to cover, because I know you have some idea, because there's Facebook Marketplace, which hasn't looked at the last mile at all, when we're talking about eBay. One thing I will just drop into the mix before, that there is one other thing that could work, because do you remember a couple of years ago, everyone was playing with in-boot delivery. And whereas I cannot imagine that working for normal courier deliveries, because you still get the one parcel. Imagine if you want to pick up something from me, you're not sure you want to meet me and vice versa. I just give you access to my car boot. There's a little camera in the boot. And bingo, there you go. I don't even need to be home. It can happen. So let's think about that. Maybe in a couple of years' time, someone will do it. But tell me about the Facebook.
No, I mean, we've covered it just now, really. It's about this issue of, I mean, if you ever want to meet unusual people, advertise something on Gumtree for free. They've got a page called Free Stuff. And if you really want to get rid of something, it can be literally anything. People will come and pick it up. And some of the people that come, I have to say, are the top end of weird. So if you want to avoid those experiences, again, how do you deal with this, neighbour to neighbour, or, selling something to somebody who's not that far away? How do you deal with that without wanting to meet them? And again, this is an application where lockers are a godsend, really.
Well, look, let's see if maybe people, because the other people have got some interesting experiences from buying Recommerce items. Please share below if you've got them. Thanks for watching this Last Mile Profits video. For more up-to-date last mile news and analysis, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on LinkedIn.